Okay, hey everyone, and welcome to You Look Lovely Today.
Thank you.
Today we have our first guest,
Woohoo!
the Saz.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, why don't you guys tell us a little about yourself?
Okay, I can start. My name is Sadia. I am from Bangladesh. I've been living in Thailand for the past, we moved here in 2017.
15.
15. It's been a long time, as you can see.
And
but
8
yeah,
years.
yeah, 8 years. And we moved here and I met Pacha at work. And then we became fast friends, as some certain female friendships go. We fell hard and deep into a fast friendship. And here we are. And I'm really excited about this podcast. And when they first told me about this, I was like, I can't wait to be on it. So yeah, excited to be here.
Yay.
I'm
I guess
excited.
it's my turn. Salim. I am better known as Sadia's husband.
AKA.
And I too have been in Bangkok for the last 8 years. Since
Of course, you have to
2015.
move together.
Yeah.
You have to be here
Yes.
together.
And we have been married for the last 10 plus years now, 10 and a half.
10.5. Wow.
Yeah, it doesn't
Wow.
seem like 10
Yeah.
and a half, but we have been married for a long time. And I also know Pacha through Sadia. And I guess we became fast friends as well. And
Sure.
then
That's
I
pretty
met
nice.
Justin,
Yeah.
the creator of this podcast, also through Pacha. And we are working on our friendship. No, I'm just kidding. We also became fast friends. And happy and excited to be here.
Woo! First guest.
Are
It's
you
an
guys
honor.
excited?
To be
We
here?
are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at his
I mean,
face.
do they have other options because it's their home?
Look at his face. He's like getting nervous and worried.
It's just us.
We'll do it black and white. Okay, so yeah, speaking of, since you are our first guest and married couple, and we're also getting married soon, so this episode I want to find some stories regarding marriage life. So
Okay.
get some feedback from a married couple.
But 10.5 years. It's no kidding. But before you guys married, how long did you guys dating before?
I think it was like close to 2 years, but
Around 2
1 and a
years.
half, close to 2 years. Yeah. But we knew each other for a very long time because we were in school together.
Oh, yeah, right. So
Yeah.
it started off like, friends.
That's the
first.
best way,
Yeah.
the best
Yeah.
formula. Be friends first.
I think so.
Yeah.
So you have to pick from your friend list who is the candidates.
Yeah. I mean, I was always, I never dated friends before. So,
It was always like someone you met and,
Yeah.
like the thing started from attraction itself,
Right.
right? Yeah. I have also done that. I think we all have. But, when you get together with a friend, it has both sides, right? Like you have the relationship aspect of it does not work out, there's a huge chance that you lose a friend. And I'm not saying that it happens all the time, but it happens more than it does not happen, right? But on the other hand, the positives of it, if it does work out, is also, as you guys would know.
It's quite special, is it?
yeah, but I mean, yeah. But that's also why I think I kept it separate because it's much easier to, I mean, if you for me, keeping dating life and friends separate, because friends were so, I mean, I don't bring a lot of friends in my life. So keeping it was easy to separate. And then when girlfriends came and went, it didn't really affect my life as much. Right?
Yeah.
Salim?
Yeah, no, I think there's another upside to kind of being in a relationship, or in some cases being in a relationship with a friend or getting married to your friend, because I think the long-term aspect, like your initial infatuation or initial attraction, the honeymoon period, let's say, that stays for, let's say, 6 months, 18 months, maybe maximum 24 months. But if you are in it for the long haul, I think having that chemistry, which usually typically you'll find in friendships, that really helps to really go the long distance. And I think that's what it feels like in our case. Like 10.5 years, it doesn't feel like it. It sounds like a lot, but for us, I think Sadia put it really nicely when we first got married. She said it's going to be stayovers for the rest of our lives.
Actually, I said that it's like the
Aw.
permanent stay over.
Yeah, it's a
like
permanent stay over.
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like still. Like we, we just
cute.
enjoy each other's company. And I guess that's one upside
Yeah.
to being friends first.
But actually, it's a very good way to put it for, like, not that it's in your case, but for someone who's really scared of commitment. You doesn't have to add it how huge responsibility it is, but make it more casual that, hey, it's a lifetime sleepover.
Yeah.
as if like, this is my roommate.
Exactly. Like, I mean, that was definitely the initial approach, but I do agree with what, and I feel quite strongly about that. And the whole aspect of, somebody told this story to me once when I was really young, and I guess that sort of left a mark in me, which was that, I don't remember if somebody told me this or if I read in a book, that imagine you're with a person that you're very attracted to, and you're like thinking, those initial, and in the book it said, although I know that in real life is not that extreme, but they're like, imagine being on a train with them, on a train journey with them, and if you can last without getting bored in this train journey, like for 4 or 5 hours with this person just talking, then there is something special there. And I do believe that, and not necessarily in terms of a romantic relationship, although for sure in the romantic relationship that's there, but also like, in any relationship. Yeah.
Cute. Cute.
Yeah.
I turned down I didn't want to hear my water, so. Oh, what am I doing? Oh, no.
Oh, Disney 100.
Yeah. Sponsored? No, okay. Okay, so, so let's get into some stories.
Yeah.
Can.
Okay, so I think the majority of them from the Am I the Butthole subreddit. So this one's by user
Baba Ganoush.
Barbara.
Papa Ganoush.
Am I the asshole for calling out my wife for going above and beyond at work, but not in our relationship?
Ooh.
A bit of context, my wife and I have been married for over 17 years. She's an executive at a small company and is working a ton of hours, very stressed about the situation. Earlier tonight, I overheard her and another coworker's call that sounded like another complex, stressful situation. I made her a cocktail and brought it to her. It was early evening. I then made a delicious, healthy dinner from scratch for her and the kids, and I also work a full-time job, by the way.
Aww.
We all ate dinner together, and everyone enjoyed the meal and said it was delicious. Towards the end of dinner, my wife said, "I wish I wasn't so driven that I could avoid doing things I don't want to do." I paused, shocked and confused. Some additional background: when it comes to intimacy, the sex with my wife is pretty conservative and very particular. It has been a source of contention. For example, I love oral sex, both giving and receiving, but I haven't had a blowjob or been allowed to go down on her for almost 2 years. And before that, it was maybe once a year at best, not birthdays, Christmas, or any other occasion, period. After she said the comment about wishing she could not do things she didn't want to do in the work context, I said, well, there are some things you don't want to do that you never do. She knew exactly what I was referring to. She completely exploded at me, throwing her wine at me and berating me in front of the kids, saying I shouldn't make it about me and that I'm horrible for not appreciating what I have, etc., etc. I'm now sleeping out of the house, so hurt and angry that I don't want to come home. So I ask you, Reddit, am I the asshole? Okay, sorry for the mistakes. It feels like I'm reading in front of class. And I'm like so stressed.
But yeah, that's a lot, right?
Yeah, a little bit intense.
What do you guys think?
I immediately have one opinion, is that he might not be the asshole here, but certainly and definitely he's not, in my opinion. But I think he's also like foolish in a way. I'll tell you why. I know like this is a judgment that I'm doing, but not a judgment really. Like foolish in the sense, why I say that there could have been another way of breaking this or having this conversation with the wife, rather than maybe like it certainly is the case that this is something that bothers her or something that pokes her, like it hit a nerve in a way. She threw a glass of wine at him, like, So I guess, it goes down to communication. He's not an asshole, but I think there's a lot more to this story. Like, it seems like there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
And I would say that maybe the way he broke it to her, that, hey, like, what you said at dinner, like maybe before going to bed or something, that, I actually was thinking that this is not you in in this scenario. So I think that's a bit, let's talk about it. I think, that would have been an easier approach. He's definitely not an asshole. Yeah.
I feel like when I was reading it, I was not comprehending anything I was reading. I was just so focused on like not making mistakes. So I'm like speed reading it right now. But I think the issue is, one thing that Pach and I agreed on, in case anyone in my family or her family is listening, we don't know anything. But one thing that we've talked about is that in a relationship, you should never weaponize sex or intimacy. Like it shouldn't be a commodity where it's like, well, if you do something for me, I will reward you. Because like that's just it's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, and it's not healthy at all.
So again, like if she's, for example, if she doesn't want to do certain things, or she's not comfortable with it, you can't really equate that to like, well, you're hyper performing at your work and you do things at work that you say you don't want to do, but you do it anyways. But then I don't think it's the same. You cannot really equate that.
You can't really compare. Another thing is that this comparison, or what this person has done, maybe it's not going to end at only this.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly the fact that she's so stressed out at work and that she probably does not have a lot of time, clearly it's something that bothers him to the core. So it would not be super unlikely that he would compare in any other situation that he would bring it up again. That's what I think. But yeah, what do you think?
I think in isolation, it's difficult to even in isolation, it's difficult to judge, because I think there are issues on both sides. Like I fully agree with Justin that you can't really equate those two things.
Yeah.
It's not fair. And on the other hand, the wife throwing wine at him also
extreme.
Isn't nice.
Yeah.
But I think there are a lot of things that are, it's difficult to judge from just this particular instance. I think there has been a build-up going on for many, several years right now, and that's why there is no communication. And I think this was kind of one incident that just occurred out of that, because I think things kind of escalated very fast here, and it wouldn't, like, again, in isolation, that wouldn't be the case. Like if this was the first time, then I don't think this would be the case, but I guess they have been having problems for, years before, and without really having all the other details, it's difficult for, someone like me to judge from just these few paragraphs. So I don't know.
But yeah, like in this situation, like, and the whole thing happened in front of the kids.
Yeah.
That is also something to note here. Like,
I think it's just probably she's stressed out at work, like mainly from that, and then he just blurb it out. It's not the right time, maybe, for her to take like that, but I guess it's also bothered him a lot, and I think, I think in general, like sex, maybe it's a hard topic, even for a couple or like a marriage couple who would just talk about it, because people can maybe get offended like easily, so it's, the topic itself is very hard to be talking to your partners, like just upfront. And now she's just like, wait, I'm stressed out about my work, and now like this, you throw this in the pit, but I think it's also bothers like both of them. Obviously I think she got to notice that he's bothered by that, because that's why she also a bit upset. Like,
I think exactly. So you touched on something super interesting, because it's so complex, and I don't know if this is like a woman thing, or if it is like, universal for whatever you identify as. But like, the thing is, there is like the first moment when she says it, I wish I wasn't so driven that I could avoid. Of course, this is rhetoric. She does not wish that. And also, secondly, is that there is like such a complex feeling behind it. The guilt maybe that is there as well. That also motivates it a bit. Yeah, it's like, isn't like human relationships, especially like marriages, are complex things.
For sure.
Yeah.
It sounds like it was something that's been
build
probably
up.
Probably for him, like this is like something that is bothered him a long time, that maybe he doesn't get what he wants in that sense. And I think the wife knows, and it must be like a recurring topic that she's kind of like, are you freaking kidding me? You're bringing this up again? Yeah. And I just
because
think,
it says like the wife knew, like she knew exactly what I was referring to, and then she started berating me. So that kind of also leads to the fact that they have talked about this in the past.
Clearly they had this conversation.
Yeah, but I guess this was not the right time to bring this up.
definitely. I think timing is very important. And then, so, I mean, I think also when you're in a couples, I've also talked with Pach about this a lot of times. There's times for solutions when you're seeking solutions, and there's time when you're seeking, like, venting, you want comfort, right? So I think she was more, I mean, obviously she's not venting to the husband, or or she's not stressed and looking for someone to come in and like do the work for her. She's just trying to say like, I'm overloaded, and then he comes in like, oh well, you're willing to put in the extra effort for work, but not for me.
But not for the other. But like, I don't know if you guys would agree, or if you have like had that experience, because I did too. There are, and I'm sure you did as well. Like there are moments sometimes when you are like, when you say something, but there are so many other meanings behind it. And this is the part where like, or maybe not just meanings, but rather motivations as well behind what you're saying. But you know how they say that, you must communicate with your partner. You must communicate. I feel like this wouldn't happen like in one day, but rather it's like a process, like, I have something in my mind and I'm like, okay, hey, sit down. I want to talk to you about this. But sometimes it's not super easy, especially like even like topics about sex or intimacy. It takes a lot to get those things. But, it's like, it's part of a habit, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely the asshole for, I would say, bringing this up at this point.
Yeah.
But I think the reason why I picked this, I think it's quite clear that obviously it's the wrong timing. But I also think that this kind of issue in relationships, maybe not specifically oral sex, but there is issues with maybe if you are, there's something that maybe you want more from your partner, whether it's like quality time or attention or something. But how as a married couple, how do you guys communicate that in your relationship?
I guess from the
or do you struggle?
Like there are like some days or some moments that are harder than most. But one thing, and I'm not going to come and say that, oh yeah, that's no worries for us. We just communicate whatever. Yeah, we've been married for a very long time. We've been friends before that. And the whole communicating with each other kind of comes like communicating, meaning that, okay, what's going on in my head, I'll tell you. Sometimes it happens quite organically or in a free flow manner. I mean, I like don't censor myself when I'm like speaking to him and those kind of things, because I want him to it also comes from the fact that I want him to know or think or experience what I'm experiencing, so that kind of a thing there. But yeah, like if it's a difficult topic, sometimes I would like, for me personally, I would like that I need to speak to him about that. I would, but it happened quite hasn't happened in recent times, but writing it out sometimes I'll write letters to him. Like my notes is full of letters to him every time we have a disagreement or a fight. And the reason, I mean, and sometimes he's like, can I see it? He doesn't see the letters.
So
really?
Interesting.
Yeah, it's for me to like sort of put down whatever that I'm feeling on paper first, because my outlet is always like writing. Writing gives me happiness. When I'm sad, I'm writing, whatever. So like, and then when I read through it, and then I would think that, hey, this is a bit like illogical, or this is not fair, that thing like that. But yeah, maybe after I die, you can read through those letters. Yeah. It suddenly took a turn. But yeah, like, so I would sort of fix that. But of course, you are impulsive in fights sometimes. You say things like, you're human beings. You say things that probably you regret later on. But in terms of like, I don't have that filter with him. Sometimes it acts against me as well because of not having that filter, But I think, like I would say that I sort of organize my thoughts by putting it out on paper, like all the bad stuff to get it out, A
little bit like a stopgap to like catch yourself before. But then, okay, so then when it comes to actually bridging that gap between you and Salim, like how do you guys communicate? Or so you like maybe wait a week or
Oh no, like not that long. You know, I would do it immediately because we've moved on to the next thing. Like, but I would like to sometimes, how some people used to don't go to bed like angry or don't go to, that kind of a thing. I'm not a huge believer of that in the sense that sometimes you can't just. But I do believe in the fact that you should resolve it faster than later. Yeah. But I don't know if you like what your approach is.
I think I have to agree with the fact that we usually have no filter.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really comfortable communicating any and everything with you. And I think what really works for us is that I think hopefully we both have confidence in each other that we will be able to change each other's position or mind on topics where if that's the rational thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
For example, sometimes we would argue, and if her argument makes more sense, I would actually be comfortable changing my position or changing my stance on an opinion that I had.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I wouldn't agree with it, but I will accept it.
Yeah.
And I think it goes the other way around.
Yeah,
So
I think so.
whenever I bring up something which maybe she initially didn't agree with, she would not be comfortable with, but she would still see my point of view. And also sometimes things are just facts. I mean, sometimes things are just right and doesn't matter who communicates it, but I think we are quite good at accepting that. And I think as people, over the last 10.5 years, we have evolved as well.
Yeah.
I think we have become more mature as well. So what bothered us 10 years ago, won't bother us anymore. And I think we, in like deep down in our fabric, I think we also get like some change. We have some changes.
Yeah.
We influence each other. And we
that
have grown
happens.
to a different person together. And more, it's merging towards kind of like one singular point where we have a lot of things in common now. And we have a lot of common points of view. So like our conflicts have also gone down because of that.
Yeah, and I think you guys experienced something like that kind of an argument with us where we were fighting. Do you remember in the car?
I mean,
Mom
the
and
car,
dad
and
were
like,
fighting.
and we would look at each other like, oh my god, Mom's and dad are fighting.
Yeah, so that was a while back, right?
What was
Like,
that about? I forgot.
So do you remember, like,
Going on a trip
just
or
for our
something.
listeners, very briefly, one of our friends, like friends with kids, so they
I
had
remember now.
a birthday party for the child, and they invited all the, like in the friend group, all the people who were who had kids, and the others who were single or didn't have kids, they were not invited. So one of our friends who was single at that time and did not have
Not
kids,
single, but did not have kids,
kids. She was not invited, and she was kind of offended by that, and I was kind of taking her side that I do think that it's a bit weird because it's the same friend group. Salim did not agree, and we actually got into an argument in front of Pacha and Justin. So we've moved like I think 1.5 years from that fight. Almost. We were in September. I think we were in
2 years,
Sorry,
actually.
I was
2.5
actually
years.
looking through
2
my
years.
diary,
Yeah.
and like just last week that I wrote it down like, oh, it's like day 10 that we were in.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, I missed.
I missed that time.
Yeah.
So like moving 2 years from that time, do I still think like am I of his belief that no, it's actually fine? Even no, I still think that it was weird. Like the single person could have attended, or the kidless person. But I respect the fact that he doesn't feel that way, and I have and that's okay. Like I think,
And it's the same. I still think that it was fine for her to not to be invited. I think there are a lot of logistics issues. And I think maybe from the people who were making the guest list, I think they were thinking, wouldn't it be weird? There would be activities with kids, and what would they do? Maybe that was their point of view. I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's a deal where you would have to know, like when you were in a different country, you would call up people and then make a big scene out of it. But I respect Sadia's position on this matter.
yeah, like and these kind of things happen quite a bit when you've been married for a very long time. We're like, okay, Amy Poehler actually said something really funny, like in her book, not funny, but like something that really stuck with me. It's like, good for you, not for me, but that's okay.
When you say accepting, Salim, you meaning like it's fair for another person to think differently, and
Absolutely.
we're like happy to listen. Oh, that's
Absolutely.
good. That's a
That's
very
super healthy.
Yeah, I think that sometimes like when I like it so many times like me and Sadia, we were bitching around, like talk about work, and she was like, yeah, I told Salim too, and he thinks like this, like it's like three-way communication that we don't have to talk, but we know like check in with like what you think too. But I really agree that like sometimes that you talk to your partner just to rationalize things. You don't need to think the same, but you listening, you have an open minded to listen to like, I mean, I'm not challenging you what you're thinking, but to listen and to hear from another perspective and just like, oh wait, because maybe sometimes when we get angry or we think about certain thing, it's coming from one side.
Yeah.
And now you listen and you're like asking another person for another opinion. So I think it's fair enough to like listen to the person, and then maybe it's right, and then I mean like for me and Justin, many times that we will be saying, oh yeah, you're right, but not being a sarcastic way, but actually like, yeah, maybe we didn't think on that view, but now when we talk and we discuss, actually that's another way that people could think the other way.
Yeah, that absolutely. You bring up a very like a lot of the times, and I think it's in you guys' experience as well, that maybe you had some idea about something, and after speaking to her or getting her perspective, you feel a bit different about it. That's also very natural. Yeah,
I think listening to both you guys, I think it's very important, the willingness to be open to changing your mind if you can be persuaded. I know like some couples, maybe they might be like, I'm gonna die on this hill, and like I'm just gonna oppose it unless you agree with me. We're gonna have a fight, or like they're not really have that openness in their mind to like change, and I think that's dangerous. And then another thing was just that also to understand that your partner or your coworkers are their own people, and they have their own thoughts and their ideas, and to also accept that like we may not agree, but that's also okay.
It's like absolutely. And I don't want to also sound off like me and Salim from the very beginning it was like that, because it was not. When it was a new relationship, or when we were newly married, even because we were also younger, so it was like I don't know if you agree with this, but like you hold on to your certain beliefs because you have not experienced the world, or you have not lived that life, and you're like, no, this is the and then slowly it sort of like, okay, when you also mature, how you handle these kind of disagreements in a relationship, that also matures.
It's okay not to agree.
It's okay not to agree.
It's okay not to agree.
I mean, I had one going back to what you said also about never going to sleep angry at each other. I think I had I agree with that too. It doesn't have to be like that night, like don't go to sleep angry, but I think what they're trying to say is pretty much like don't let it fester.
Yeah, don't let it sit.
And I definitely, we've had these couple moments like this with Pacha where we've had disagreements, or we've had a conflict about something, and then I would get these very negative thoughts of like, oh, Pacha, she's being so selfish, or even that Pacha is selfish, or that she doesn't care about you. Right. And I know I would catch myself and think like, I know that's not true, because I know Pacha cares about me. I know she's not selfish, but I also don't like that these thoughts are coming in my head. And I think that the longer you kept these thoughts to yourself, and you don't get that other voice to say to kind of negate that voice, then that voice grows louder over time. And I know because this has happened in previous relationships where these thoughts about other people or other people would come into my head, and eventually it's like it becomes a reality where like I don't like this person anymore because I think that they're selfish, and it's not fair because they didn't really get a chance to defend themselves.
It's all happening in our minds.
So it's very dangerous.
And the lesson that I kind of learned over the years is that anger is also something that you can control. You feel, or you say, or that's how society kind of teaches you that, oh, anger is something like you can't control. He was so angry, or she was so angry that they threw a glass at someone. But I think it is kind of a feeling that you can learn to control better. And I mean, through anger, what you essentially are trying to do is you want the other person to submit to you. So when you're angry, when you're raising your voice, when you're not eating dinner, really what you essentially are trying to do is want that other person to submit to you. And whenever, even if they do submit to you, that's an empty feeling. There's nothing you gain out of it. Sometimes after they submit, you get even angrier because you want them to now submit even lower now, or do something even more. So I don't want to be that person who wants my loved ones to submit to me because I got angry.
Yeah.
So it's still a learning process. I would say that I recover fast. Like, even if I get angry, when I was much younger, I would hold on to that anger for weeks. But now we're talking about an hour, or sometimes, I want to get to zero. It's an ongoing process, but that's what essentially. And it's not just like me. There are psychologists who are saying, this particular concept is from Alfred Adler. I think in Buddhism as well, they say you're holding on to a hot coal for the opportunity to throw it at someone else when you're angry.
Yeah.
So drop the hot coal, basically. So yeah, I guess it's a learning and evolving process which we are doing kind of together.
Yeah. Do you guys ever feel that, the way you look at anger or being angry is different for like both of you, like as individuals in a couple? Like, the reason why I say this, while you think of what you actually do, the reason why I say this is because the way Salim gets angry and the way I have my anger, it's quite different. But as more time passes and the more, the longer your relationship goes, the more difficult conversations that you have. I feel like I still look differently like about anger and how my approach to anger is than him. But I think one thing that converges is the fact that, what he was talking about, that, holding it on and rather than letting it go. So that, yeah. So just curious how you guys is your approach to anger different?
Honestly, I don't think that like when we start dating since we start until now, I don't think I get angry at you.
Maybe just annoyed.
Maybe just annoyed. Yeah, I would say I've never get angry at him. I'm getting angry at workplace, but never at him. But with Justin, sometimes just being like sometimes like clingy or want attentions or they didn't do something right away. I'm like I'm getting annoyed, but not. I'm getting annoyed, but he would see from my body languages. I'm like, because I start doing it myself. I wouldn't say it, but when we have a difficult conversations or I'm like, I really don't like this, we would just talk it up front, but we don't really raise our voice at each other. No, not really. I don't think so. Yeah, but
yeah, I don't think I've seen you guys like be that way.
I would do it at work, but like not at home. That's not my persona. But anyways, yeah, I don't think I've experienced any anger in our relationship.
I'm not
yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Not yet.
I'm not the yelling type. I'm definitely the type to keep it inside. I'm holding that hot rock in a sense. But your friend, who I hope we'll have on the show soon, he asked you, right? Like, do you and Justin ever fight?
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
And then we were thinking about it, and like, of course, every relationship has conflicts. And I would say, I don't think we fight, but we have conflict. I think the reason why our fights aren't so extreme or like
dramatic
fight. Yeah, they're not like theatrical. Is that when we have conflict, it's very like solution focused. So we're both aligned towards a solution. Versus, I know a lot of times when I think we talked about this before, but when we fight, when people say going through a fight, it's like a pretty much like Pacha versus Justin, right? Yeah. And it never feels like we're versus each other, and we're always kind of like, I might say like, I'm not happy about this, about something you did or like something that happened, and then it's kind of like, well, okay, well, what can we do to stop this from happening? Or like, I felt this way, and like, I'm a little bit upset about this, stuff like that, and then it's never like, I'm very lucky to have a partner that doesn't get defensive, and she's not like, how dare you feel that way? It's more like, well, I didn't mean to make you feel that way, and then how can we make sure this doesn't happen again? So
I think like what you just said and what she also said, it's like a mark of a mature relationship.
I was gonna say, I think that because we're with each other when we're been through a lot in
Yeah.
life, so the part of like being angry, also like emotional,
Yeah.
and irrational, it's past that point. So I think we are always, not always, but I think that we're more solution oriented
Yeah.
in a way, and I think that it's just a different stage of like life.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I also like what he said about, because me and Salim always say this to each other when we're in stressful situations and then kind of like maybe annoying each other in a bit. And I can sense that, okay, maybe there's something, or he can sense that. And we would always say that, but we're one team. Did we say that? Like, but we're one team. Like, we might have, but, the resolution has to be together. Like, we're one team.
I was talking to one of our colleagues, and he was asking this question to me, like, hey, have you guys ever like fight? I'm like, but what is the extent of fight? Of course, like we have our disagreement, but we would just have like our conversations together. And then I told him that think of like your partner as a team, that you work as a team. And he's like, oh, like a company. And I told him like, yeah, I'm a CEO.
Ooh, if you're the CEO, then Justin is
CFO.
COO. Oh,
I think
CFO.
he's CFO.
Like major shareholder. I think I read something, that was saying, if you're in a relationship and you're looking to win a fight and the other person comes out feeling defeated, then as far as a relationship wise, it's a failure.
Yeah, you're both lost.
Right.
Yeah.
If you win, if you get your way, but your relationship is dying, then no one is winning. So,
Yep. I just want to clarify to like, people who are listening to us. And of course, it sounds like we have this like figured out, or all four of us are sitting here. Definitely we don't. Nobody has it figured out.
Speak for yourself.
Oh, you have.
We don't.
So yeah, like, you learn as you go. But yeah, I guess both of like the common point for both like these two couples, is that, we're in that relationship in our lives where, we're done with the drama.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I picked this as like a kind of warm up, and I didn't think it was going to go this deep. But actually, I mean, yeah, I guess conflict obviously is.
From the listener's point of view, it sounds like you guys have figured it out. I mean, that's what it sounded like. But the disclaimer doesn't sound honest. But yeah, that's
how that has been the experience.
Yeah.
But maybe we can go to the next.
I mean, time will tell for sure. Yeah. Time will tell. Okay, so the next one. Anyone else want to read? You want to read?
No, I don't want to read.
You want to read?
I can't see the whole screen properly from here.
Yeah, you want to?
But you can or you can't.
I don't want to. Let's
I can
do it.
read
Yeah,
it.
let's
Let's
do
go
it.
there.
All right.
Okay, so the title is Am I the Butthole for Ignoring My Husband? I, Carla 30, am 6 months pregnant with my husband, Harry, who's 31, his baby. Harry and I have been married for a year and 2 days, and I'm pregnant with our first child. During this pregnancy, I've been very exhausted every day and would usually come home from work and go to bed an hour later. Then I'd wake up at midnight and reheat what Harry had made us for dinner. For context, I've been part of a huge work project that's been going on for months, and I've been extremely overworked. On top of this, my husband doesn't have a job at the moment and isn't looking for one unless I remind him. I've been working overtime and for a few hours on my days off to get as much money as I can before maternity leave, since I don't have a high-paying job, and I'd like to have some extra money for takeaway food, or for long tireless days with the baby. Our anniversary was on the 6th of August, and I'd asked him if we could have a romantic dinner at home and then snuggle up to watch TV under a warm blanket until we passed out. Aww. I thought it was a wonderful idea since I was too tired to go out, and because I knew that Harry was doing most, if not all, of the household chores. However, he seemed a little annoyed when he agreed, but I thought nothing of it. The next morning, Harry seemed quite cold towards me and barely looked at me in the eyes when I asked if he was feeling well, but I had to go to work, and so I left without an answer. Once I got home, he wasn't there, but that was normal since he could have been out with friends or at an interview, so I went to sleep. I woke up at 11 that night to see that I was still alone in the house, so I checked my phone. I had about 8 missed calls from Harry and a long text from 40 minutes ago. I'm summarizing, but the text read, I understand how tired you are because of this pregnancy and you having to work extra hours most days, but I'm over being ignored every day and having a 5-minute conversation with you every so often. You expect me to do all the housework and plan our lazy and boring anniversary alone. I'm really annoyed So I'm staying at a friend's tonight. Text me when you see this. Of course, I called him and texted him about being sorry and wanting to talk, but I never got an answer. In the morning, I called my boss about having a personal day and spent most of the day waiting for Harry and planning my big apology. However, when he came home, he silently handed me a rose and a heartfelt, emotionally written card before he went out for an interview. His card told me how much he loves me and how he doesn't want to leave this conversation, but he needs a few days until we talk to plan out what he wants to say. I've had ages to think about it, and I realize how distant I've been towards Harry, and I've barely lifted a finger around the house, but I'm still not sure if I'm fully to blame here. So, am I the butthole?
By the way, Sadia used to work in radio. That's why her voice is so good. I was like, wow, it's so good. And I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I was like, realized like, wait, is that, the text is kind of small. But you did a great job.
I'm good. But yeah, like this is a complex situation, right?
Yeah, it's quite complex. It was very heated. I like this story because actually there's an update and the comment section is quite heated. Maybe I can just, you can give your feedback.
Yeah. So like, is this woman an asshole or not, right? Mm-hmm. To me, immediately, she's not an asshole because, you know, this person is pregnant and working. And also, like, you know, of course, she has a partner who takes care of the home, which is like a huge given thing. But it's also true that, like, maybe, like, that doesn't make her an asshole. Maybe the reason why I think this does not make her an asshole, and this is the fact that she was not being able to tell that this guy is, like, the fact that, you know, when they did nothing on their, like, nothing is in, to her it seemed like a romantic dinner, and maybe he expected something else. The fact that she could not tell that this was kind of, might have been his expectation, he wanted to do something special. This shows that there probably there's a gap between them right now. And her not realizing it does not make her an asshole to me. Like, I just feel like they are going through a rough patch and it's tough. He's taking care of the kids and the house, and then she's like working to get some money in, which makes me think, and she's going on maternity leave soon. So not an asshole, but it's just unfortunate, like, you know, in a very stressful situation. But yeah, like, I don't think she's an asshole.
You're so sweet, because the majority of the comment section was very much against the husband.
Really? I don't think he is an asshole too.
Oh, okay. Well, state why you think so. State.
I think that because I feel that it happened to us before, not the pregnancy one, FYI, no. But, you know, like, many times that I thought about work, and then he would just talk by himself, like, and I'm not, like, sometimes and I just didn't focus, you know, and I felt bad. Like, at the end, he felt like, oh, I was just talking to you, and I feel like I haven't, like, compartmentalized my mind, you know, when I got home, and I still think about work. So when I'm like, oh, I want to be home, I want to be with you, but I still think about work, you know. So I think that because if he's home all the time, he's alone with the kids, you know, you want some adult to talk with when you're at home. But from her mind, she's just like, oh my God, I'm like going through this pregnancy, I have work, I have a lot in my mind, I don't have time for this. But actually, like, your partner, it's fairly important too. And I mean, I think they're just not vibing. Yeah. At this point of time, they're not vibing. I know that we keep saying this, but I think that they should just communicate, like, you know, what's happening in their mind, what does she want, you know? I mean, she did say that what she want, but maybe she didn't ask him, like, on the same side as well, like, what do you want, you know? I mean, it's anniversary, so it's supposed to be two persons celebrate things together, but it shouldn't be only him. But I think maybe she take the advantage. I don't want to say advantage, but the positioning of, like, I'm pregnant. Yeah. So I can sort of, like, plan this, and I'm like the person who bring the money.
Wow, that's so funny, because I'm more defensive, I think, of the pregnant wife, and then you're more defensive of the husband, which is so interesting.
I mean, it's her first pregnancy. 6 months into it, really working, like, going out, and, you know, I think she's also doing overtime. I think somewhere she mentioned, right?
Yeah. And so extra money 6 months pregnant, like
extremely overworked.
That's pretty far along.
I think, you know, she is not an asshole at all. So this is not even a question in my mind. I think the husband is more immature than an asshole. I think they're both quite young, 30 and 31. And yeah, I mean, they've been married for a year and 2 days, they say. So I think they're also not only just young, but this is a young relationship as well. And the first kid on the way, I think things can be stressful. Yeah, but I would say maybe he's not an asshole because maybe it's not intentional. And then later, I guess he understood where he, made a mistake. And then he wanted to apologize, but we don't get the resolution here at least. But yeah, I think this is one of those conflicts that you may have in a relationship. But I don't think there is anyone doing anything malicious here.
Yeah, and it's not easy, even from his perspective. Like, it's not easy to. So he felt what he felt, and it's so funny. Like, side note, I have to say that we are at that age where 30-year-olds are like young.
Yeah, when you said young, I was like yeah, we are old. No.
Oh yeah, we just timed ourselves. But anyway, definitely not the asshole. The guy, he's a human being.
Yeah, true.
He is taking. I mean, I don't think it's got to do with, in this case at least, got to do anything with the gender of the person. Like,
True.
It could be the other way around. And
Yeah.
how would you guys feel about that if it was the other way around? Probably the same.
I feel like one exception. I mean, I'm all for gender equality, but I think one exception is pregnancy, because I'm sure it takes a toll on your body.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, it's the same.
Hormones.
It's probably like
and
100 times worse than like when you are like exhausted the next day after a workout because your body is whatever
Yeah.
building up muscle, but like you're you're forming like a whole
Yeah, you're
whole
making
new
a baby.
person. Yeah, so I can
inside
imagine
you.
that
Yeah.
taking a toll on you. So I feel like one thing, I feel like pregnancy kind of gives you a little bit of a pass for
Yeah.
some.
But I'm actually a little bit annoyed. So I got it wrong. I thought that they already have like one kid at home. So actually he's unemployed.
Yeah.
And he stay at home.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
like
I also got the impression they have a kid.
So this is their first kid.
I'm pregnant with our first child.
Oh,
so
first
it's
child.
going to be their
Okay.
first
Yeah.
kid.
So it can be seemingly annoyed too. Like if like you are a full-time working and then you're pregnant and then your husband. Yeah, I mean, I don't think she's not an asshole, but I mean,
And also from Harry's point of view, I mean, I don't know which country this is from, but I think it's still, from a social perspective, men are still supposed to contribute. Typically, that's the expectation, the usual expectation in terms of the income. So Harry might also feel maybe he's not contributing enough, and then when he didn't have the means to plan something more lavish, which is again the typical norm, like the standard, like going to like a nice French
Michelin
restaurant or somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good perspective.
And maybe that's where he was also coming from, and then he kind of reacted the way he reacted. Maybe it kind of goes in that direction as well, and that's why I also don't think he's an asshole, but more immature.
True.
Yeah.
I agree.
I didn't think on that perspective, honestly.
Okay, now that we're on the same page, we can go to the
Update, yeah.
Yeah, go to the update. So
Yes, I'm looking forward to it now.
okay, so the first update is from Whisper 4969. It says,
Hey,
not the
6'9". I'm kidding.
not the asshole. What is he? 5 years old? Did he forget how to speak? He clearly forgot how to work and is
Wow, I love this capitalized.
and is expecting his pregnant wife to support his lazy butt while he sulks like a toddler because he's not getting enough attention because you have to work extra hours to keep a roof over your damn head, food on the table, and the damn lights on. So you can see him sulking all while you're pregnant. I'm sorry, but this is not a man. That's a child who apparently is still stuck to his own mom's chest and hasn't weaned off yet to know that he's supposed to be taking care of you. So let me get this straight. He doesn't work. He refuses to look for a job, and he doesn't speak to tell you what he's thinking. Crystal balls have been broken for so long, and people don't realize they have to actually talk now. He resents you for not meeting his needs while meeting none of yours. He plays emotional games with your head, banging out of the house while you're asleep to go, quote unquote, play with his friends on your anniversary, then comes back with a flower and an apology, and in the same breath says, but I don't know if I've forgiven you yet. You know what that is, right? Narcissism.
Ooh.
Honey, he's gaslighting you. At every single turn, he is gaslighting you, and you're letting him. Stop it. You have one baby on the way. You don't need two. You've raised him long enough, and he needs to go back home to his mommy to reattach to her chest.
Oh my
if that's what he wants
God.
so much.
That's brutal.
Because clearly he's not been weaned. He wants a mom, not a wife. You're already single, baby. You're raising a full-grown man and supporting a full-grown damn man. If he wants to be a child, fine. Send him on his way. Get yourself to the courthouse. File for separation with intent to divorce. He can get himself a job and pay child support. It's time for him to grow up. You don't need 2 babies in the house. You deserve better.
It sounds like from an experienced.
Yeah, it sounds like it's like too specific, right? No, but
But also see the social expectation aspect. So just because he's a man, so like a lot of this lining of reasoning is basically he should get I mean, of course, I also agree he should get a job. There should be contribution from both sides. They should work it out. But this expectation can be also difficult for the guy.
Yep.
And I think sometimes it's not as easy as just apply and get a job.
Yep.
Maybe we don't know the background. Maybe he did apply, for 20 positions and he got rejected, and then you don't have the confidence to go out. Again, these are a lot of assumptions.
Yep.
But just on this particular aspect, putting all that pressure
To the man.
is also, I guess, not nice.
Yeah, I actually thought about it too, that I don't think that maybe he tried already to apply for jobs, but maybe he got rejected and he didn't share with his wife, that, hey, I did, because he probably doesn't want to disappoint her, so that's why she feels that I need to keep or reminding him to that point. But I mean, but in a way, like when you I don't want to say perform, but when you don't contribute as much on one side, you want to do better on the other side, so he can also be more helpful on the other side of things.
Yeah, like not being an added pressure for her.
Yeah.
Thing is, what that person said, I just think that it's a bit extreme. Like, I don't think that, she needs to separate for him with intent to divorce.
Uber.
Yeah. Right?
I think that commenter is the asshole, if anything. I mean, it's just too intense
It's too extreme.
with that information that we had.
We're also angry sometimes on Reddit, on the comment sections, like,
The comments are sometimes more brutal than the actual post on Reddit.
Yeah, I love the sassiness of it though.
So there's an
this is
extension
more-
here, right?
This is
Oh,
the
I
part
think there's an
2.
extension here.
Yeah, this is the
Yeah,
part 2.
I'm from the UK, so Ireland, blah blah. So
okay.
this is
Whoa.
Your turn.
okay. Sure. So where do I start from?
I think it's the same thing as what's on the screen.
Small update. It's the 17th now. I've had a longer think. I'm not deciding anything until our talk, but I definitely won't be staying in my home with him after this. I can't trust him not to run away again. I'll talk more about this on my actual update, but I've gained some self-respect and realized he's being an asshole. I talked to my mom, and she's happy for me to move in with her on the 21st, and I'm free to stay for as long as I need to. So I'm going to post an update just to clear the air when I can, hopefully the day after Harry's home, 20th or 21st, and then delete this all a day or two later, or I'll forget to.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like my ideal case scenario for the what the update could be was that we had a conversation, and then he came out and he told me a bunch of things that I didn't know, he was suffering, he's not being able to, like you said, I got rejected at a job or something. That's and then they sort of worked it out.
It's such a happy ending kind of thing.
Yeah.
Something, what's your hunch?
I think that post was the right one.
Yeah, it was. Okay. Yeah, I'm looking. I'm it's
Okay.
I want to start by saying that a lot of questions have been answered since Harry came home yesterday evening. The main one being that he did use the second ticket before his sister. Okay, not sure what that is. For the last few days, Harry's friend has been living with me and helped me through this. One way was that he scheduled a couples and individual counselor for Harry and I. I have also been calling my mom every day since the 13th, and with the one counseling session, Harry's friend and my mom all giving me the same advice. I scheduled an early maternity leave with a slight bonus to each paycheck because of all my overtime and unpaid help. I officially leave work in 4 days. Back to yesterday. Harry's friend went to pick Harry up and sent me photos of who he was with, as reassurance that it was his sister, Tiff, not her real name. When they arrived, I prepared dinner and cleaned the downstairs of our home so that we could have a civilized conversation without hunger or distraction to stop us. Harry looked extremely tired, and he seemed to be on the verge of crying the moment he opened the door open the door to the mall. I was incredibly patient for the sole reason of being able to get through this discussion in one piece. And so when Harry wouldn't speak, I let Tiff explain why she had gone with him. Tiff is a lovely lady who helped me through the months before my pregnancy. However, Harry didn't stay in close contact with her, and I lost touch when the work project started. Because of this, she had no clue about anything going on until Harry called her and said that he had a spare ticket to Ireland. At first, she was reluctant since she knew that I was pregnant, and so she tried to ask why he would leave and if I was with someone who could care for me. Eventually, Harry snapped and told her that the real reason of why he was going away, he snapped and told her the real reason of why she was going away. And so she joined him to make sure that he knew it was wrong, but also to help him through all the emotions that he was feeling. So it sounds like he left on a trip.
Yeah.
She was the reason that Harry came back to me. If she hadn't gone with him, then Harry admitted that he might have moved to central London or a small village in the countryside to hide from this.
What
the hell?
It took everything in me not to cry when she admitted that, and I could clearly see the shame on Harry's face. I'm not going to recite everything word for word, and so I'll quickly clear some things up. Harry did use the backup savings account, like I thought, to pay for the tickets. The reason that Harry's friend didn't see who the other ticket was for was because once they had found the tickets, Harry's friend went to bed. Tiff was by Harry's side the entire holiday in Ireland, and confirmed without a doubt that this wasn't to find a fling. They spent most of their days in the cheapest hotel room possible in silence before Harry started talking about everything. When we met and married, Harry was a loving, hardworking, job-having man who only dreamed was to have a wonderful family and then retired to one of those cute stone villages in the south of England. After an hour, Harry finally spoke up. Tiff and Harry's friend went into the living room, but I never realized how strange it would feel to be with Harry again. He confessed that he'd stopped loving me a month into my pregnancy. It wasn't due to the fact that I was sick all the time, dirty as a mole, or wouldn't stop talking about the baby. He just didn't have a reason. Since he couldn't think of why he stopped loving me, he assumed that the love would come back in no time, that maybe it was some delusion caused by the stress of the baby on the way. Over time, that love didn't come back, and he started feeling incredibly guilty and alone in it all, which is when he got fired from his job. He told me it was because his work performance was belittled by new management, but it was really because he was too trapped in his feelings to think of anything but how he still didn't love me. Then he never tried to get a job because sitting at home without me, since I had to work more, was much better than sitting at work and possibly getting fired again. He came to love how he had alone time until the moment that he felt alone. That was when he refused to work just so he wouldn't have to see me. He wanted to sit and wait and see how long it would be before I came to him. The trip was to test the waters. It was to see if life would be better without me. He still hasn't decided. In his whole explanation, I kept emphasizing how he didn't love me and said it was like a child who needed to hear something 1,000 times just to understand it. He never apologized. In a rough way, I was shocked, distraught, and if you have a word to describe that awful emotion then I felt, I cried, I shouted, I cried again, and we sat in silence until I could talk. Then I told him how I could never trust him again. How could I possibly trust him not to walk out on me or the baby? How could I trust him to tell me these things or explain his emotions, to see the story from both sides? How could I possibly work myself dry again for an unloving husband? Okay, I didn't realize it was this long.
Wow, it's a lot.
I think we get the gist. And so in the end, sorry, I'll just finish up. Finally, I made it clear to Harry that we will separate for now, but will divorce, remain separated after the baby is born. I will make sure that he is not mentioned on my emergency contacts. He can't be trusted to show up or even where he says he is. I'm not going to update this anymore since I have things to do and babies to prepare for. Thank you for sticking around and reading this all.
No, this is just unfortunate.
Yeah. Okay, so it sounds like they had that falling out and he just kind of disappeared on a trip with a girl.
And she didn't know who this girl was. Right. And in the third update, we find out that the girl was actually his sister.
Right.
Yeah.
Or, his, and then nothing happened, so she says, and then they just ended up falling out. But I mean, imagine being pregnant and then
dealing with this.
Yeah.
clearly this guy was not ready for the kind of relationship that they have right now, right? Like, with all of the things. He said that I fell out of love with you in your first month of your pregnancy. I'm sure it took a lot for him to say that. But, I think it's a good move from her side. That's all I can say. It is unfortunate.
And that commenter was right. Like, get it reversed in all caps.
So
I
like,
think he or she was right.
This is a child that you're married to.
I mean, with that kind of passion, it must have come from like maybe personal experience. So she's like, I know, I recognize these signs.
Yeah.
Like,
you know how there's
like,
this whole notion about like husbands kind of losing interests or having affairs when the wives are pregnant. Like we see this in celebrities as well as, of course, regular people as well. Not saying that celebrities are not regular people, because they aren't. No. Yeah, like, it's unfortunate, but it's not super uncommon.
Yeah. I think it's, I don't know what it is, but I would think that having a child with someone would kind of like make things feel, I mean, it's quite a special thing to have a child with someone, but at the same time, what people always say is like having a kid or getting married doesn't change the relationship, and if anything, it adds more stress, and it'll enlarge, and any cracks in relationships already there will become greater because of the stress of
you have to handle it with care. Yeah Absolutely. Are you guys having a good time?
I did. I'm sorry, I didn't know that story was going to be. I remember like doing the research and organizing stories, and then they were like juicy and fun, and then
but it's still fun.
This
but
is very real.
But
it's very like
but it's very intense. There's a lot of like emotional.
I mean, actually, we've been recording already an hour.
Oh yeah,
it doesn't feel like
it doesn't feel like it, right? So I mean, we can finish up the story, and then the last one is a fun one.
Okay. No, this is okay. Look, this is real life, right? Like real life are going to have stories like this, rather than.
But it took a turn, because what we predict, like what we try to guess, it's so like, like fluffy, like in happy ending, but this is like another level. But I wonder if the guy would already fall out of love from her, because he said that first month of pregnant, but I guess that the feelings already start before, but the first month was like when he actually realized that he just didn't love her anymore.
And I think the losing the job because of that, I think, sounded kind of like a lame excuse to me.
I agree.
Like
maybe
blaming.
it was like later, like he justified it, like he got fired first, and then he kind of connected it so that he doesn't want to admit it to himself even. That, I mean, because the timeline doesn't really make sense. So if you're a great performer and then month 1 you're out of love, and within like 2 or 3 months, because she was 6 months pregnant, right? So then let's say 3 months, your performance is so bad that you are fired. I guess he's not taking responsibility for his actions here.
Yeah, he has this tendency to, of course, we don't know anything about this guy's life, but in this explanation, 2 times, once was like, I got fired because the new management didn't like me.
And then that's why I couldn't even apply for any job. I mean,
it could have been like depression, like, sometimes you get
maybe
like,
he has some other issues. You're absolutely right.
You lose that effort to like try because you're just like, I can't face the tomorrow or today,
It's not a bad thing if he kind of takes that, like going to this other suburban town and taking time on his own. Maybe for him, it's probably a good thing to do.
But not leaving your
pregnant wife.
Yeah.
It sounds like, I mean, from my perspective, it sounds like he maybe got depressed by losing his job, and then from the job was kind of like, I'm not making the money that I need to make, or maybe disappointing in himself. And then he's like, well, maybe my life would be easier if I didn't have a wife and a kid on the way. And then he's like, then that kind of like festering idea, like we talked about before, was kind of like, well, do I really love my wife?
Yeah.
And then maybe it's like, maybe I'll be happier without my wife in my life, and then that's why he just took a trip out. And then, it's a slippery slope, like we said.
And also, this is, even on Reddit, you see, especially on this like sub, a lot of the times things are not black and white. This guy did a shitty thing to this person that he married and had this commitment to, but he also has a lot of things inside him that he needs to deal with, and it's a shitty thing, but you can't really, because probably it was hard for him to sort of go through those emotions and deal with it, you know? So, it's always, there's always gray. It's never black and white. Sometimes it is black and white. Like sometimes there's a clear asshole. Yeah. Yeah.
Clear. That's a clear asshole. I mean, it's
Bleached. Yeah.
Sometimes things are, for example, she probably thinks it's the end of the world that she's being left while she's pregnant.
Yeah.
At the same time, she might look back on this day, 16 years later when her kid is grown up and she's with a new loving husband that thank God my husband left when he did.
Yeah.
Versus we stuck together and I'm miserable raising this kid with a guy that doesn't love me and I have grown to resent. So at the same time, it's like, I mean, I have a couple people in my life that are dealing with not divorce, but breakups. And I told them that, sometimes relationships aren't meant to last forever. And, sometimes can be a good thing that they end, so.
Yeah. Like I just very recently, like 2 or 3 days back, someone in my family went through, signed her divorce papers and she's my cousin. She's quite close to me. And then she called me up and she was crying and she's like, and of course that marriage was over since 2 years, you know, and they have 2 kids. And then she was telling me that my kids, just pray for my kids that, they're fine and they're okay. And then I told her something and that I really believe in that. He's like, what I said was that, if you were stuck in this marriage for them, it would be even worse for them to see you guys like that. Right. This is way better. Like, of course it's unfortunate. No divorce is like a walk in the park or whatever, but in the long run, absolutely,
Yeah, I'm not saying that the moment your relationship or marriage has a difficulty, you should get divorced. But at the same time, it's like, you don't want to waste time that you could be with someone. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely you have to work on it. And then after a while, if it does not, you have the same pattern again and again, then you know that, okay, you know what? Yeah.
But we've also talked in our relationship with Pacha and I that divorce is not an option.
Yeah.
Because I also find that, for example, if you're, I use this example with Pacha the other day, was that, if you're in a simulator as an astronaut or where they practice in the pool and you have a difficulty, maybe you're like, okay, we couldn't do it, let's restart the simulation, versus if you're on the space station, the ISS, and you're like, we have this malfunction, you have to work at it until the station explodes, because there's no other option. And so sometimes I find that when people feel like there's an out, they don't try their hardest and just okay, well, let's just hit the reset button and let me find someone new. So so I'm wondering how do you discern that?
I mean, it's very interesting that you because I used to think like that, where it would be like, yeah, no, divorce is not an option. And do I think very different from then? I don't think very different, because I do think that you can't, it's not easily. One shouldn't, just in what you said about if there's a slight issue, I think that if you have that mental thing that you don't even get deep in the relationship, you
won't try to make it work even.
But the way that I have changed from this thing a bit is that if there is something big in there, definitely I should give myself that leeway or not feel trapped in a way that maybe a lot of women in previous generations, especially from the culture that I come from, that they felt that, I'm in it and they will, I will go through it and I will take it and I will work it out and I will, I'll work on, I don't feel that extreme anymore, but, definitely easily, just because something is wrong, I'll just get out of it. I don't feel like that definitely is not my way of thinking. But yes, it's not a fallback, but it's when you go to that wit's end where you can't take anymore, there is an option. So that kind of similar to what you think, that I do think that divorce shouldn't be something that you think of it that, hey, entitlement shouldn't come, when it comes to divorce. Yeah. But yeah, Salim, what do you think? He's like,
Okay, so to quote Osho from Wild Wild Country.
Fancy.
The documentary. No, but he has some good work, actually. So I think even in the documentary, there's one line where he says, isn't it really unfortunate that people have to stick together because of religion, because of certain laws, if they lose interest in each other, or if they are not in love with each other? So I think people should have the option to decide. This is basically a joint decision between two adults, and people shouldn't feel they're stuck.
Yeah.
But I guess we also have to, as a society, as individuals, I think it's also in our responsibility to respect this institution as well. So just because there's an argument, just because a couple of things didn't go right, you just, take that path. I think there has to be, if you make a choice, you have to have that commitment. And you really have to kind of understand where or at what point do you make that difficult decision, but it shouldn't be off the table anywhere or at any point.
Basically, you're Osho.
Yeah, basically, I'm not Osho, but I'm just saying, in general, I guess, especially, I guess it's more more important for the cultures that we come from.
Yeah.
I guess, if you ask my parents, it's off the table. Whatever crime I commit, whatever crime she commits, from both our sides, it'll be, sorry, let's not go there. What else can we do? How can we solve it? What else can we do to make things better for you? But I think that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying, that, in the previous generation, it was you have to stick it out, and, you need to sort of work at it until it's perfect, and there is no scope of that. No scope of any other way. I think that extreme view in our generation, it has changed. But yeah, so not in favor of just something slightly goes wrong, and without working on it, you think of divorce. Yeah.
That's funny that you bring up religion, because my family is very religious, Christians, and I'm not so religious. And I remember my family always pressured me to go into church, and I said that, I feel like it's more disrespectful to be a fake Christian, or I don't want to lie to my family and be like, because it would be a lot easier to just tell them, I'm very religious and I follow whatever you guys believe, and so you guys would get off my back. But at the same time, I don't want to lie to them and be untrue to myself, or I think the worst thing is because I think what happened to me growing up was I saw a lot of mistreatment done by religious people, and it really turned me away from religion, and I don't want to be another person that people might look at me and be like, hey, look at that guy who says he's Christian, he's acting like this, and so I don't want to misrepresent a religion also, just because I don't want to be bothered by my family. And so I told my family that, if I do come to church, and if I do tell you that I'm a Christian, isn't it more important that I mean it, that I feel it in my heart, than to just, lie about it, because whether or not God is real, he would know if I was in my heart, if I was just going to church, going through the show. So I think the similar thing in a marriage is that, you're right. Okay. I will amend what I was saying, about not feeling like there's escape, because you're right. I don't want Pacha to feel like divorce is not an option, because I want her to be in the marriage because she chooses to be in the marriage, right? And so that's true. Yeah. So
but I also
guess
know
you
where
can if you want.
No, but but I understand where you're coming from. There should always be an option, but our options, and that we agree on, is that we don't want to think that there's this alternative, because we want to be together, and we want to make it work, and we want to find a solution to go through with it together, so it's just a different perspective of how you want.
I
think
also
they can also,
sorry, please go ahead.
No, so I think they can be mutually exclusive as well. It doesn't have to be connected to each other, because then you go into the danger of what Justin says, you don't have an option, so let's work it out. It shouldn't be like that. It should be, we want to work it out. Full stop. That's one option. And option B, sure, that can be on the table, and there are so many other options on the table if you are creative and if you are open-minded, right? But you have to be in a relationship for the relationship. And also, Pacha 2023, Justin 2023, they are not the same Pacha and Justin from 2033.
Yeah.
Totally.
So having a fixed position or kind of being restrictive, or not just on this topic, but on any topic, I guess may not be the wisest thing to do.
Yeah, but you know,
Thank
just
you,
to
Osho.
clarify,
Wait, can we say who's Osho? Real fast in case people are
wait,
listening. He's the
what's his full name?
He is called by many names, Bhagwan Rajnishi.
Bhagwan.
Rajnishi, the
Yeah, so
Rajnishi.
he's I guess
Cult leader?
Cult leader is one way of
yeah.
seeing him.
So he
He's
started out
a-
as like a thought, like, you know, a life guru.
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, as
It was
most
a
life
religious
gurus end up
sect
being...
almost. Yeah.
like a
From the Wild Wild Country.
From the
Yeah,
Wild
so
Wild
if you
Country.
want to check
Yeah.
his work,
We're not sponsored by Netflix.
yeah, but on Netflix, Wild Wild Country, fascinating. I'm
Very
sure you
fun.
have-
Yeah, it was a good documentary.
Yeah.
Okay, as you were saying, sorry.
Oh, no, I was just saying that, like, just want to clarify that, you know, I also understand where Justin is coming from with that, because nowadays we hear of a lot of marriages where people are like, you know, the slightest thing happens and then they talk about divorce. So I am also not for that kind of a thing. But yeah, like, I think we are all on the same page.
But I think we already passed to that point of like, you know, that young love that we will be like,
Yeah.
when we have a fight, we just like, no, let's break up.
Yeah,
Let's break up.
yeah.
Now it's like more to that like we make it work, or I mean, there's other options, you know, like divorce can be one of it. But I mean, now it's not like that. Not every fights have to be like, okay, I'm gonna.
I think that automatically comes after you really get married, like, you know, because of the whole thing, like, you know, two families getting involved. You sign a piece of paper. Now the nation, like the country, recognizes it, like it's a legal thing. It's not as easy as like texting, hey, you know what, I hate you now, let's
Die.
not see each
Just
other
gonna
anymore.
ghost her.
You can do that anymore, and I think it will you'll see a lot of like an automatic shift. So our fights before we got married were way different than the
Yeah.
fights that we I mean, again, throughout our 10.5 years, divorce was never even a thought.
Yeah.
I mean, we had fights, definitely, but it was never a thought. But I can't confidently say that if we didn't get married, in the past, like in my past relationships, let's say the conflict was like 7 out of 10. Hey, I'm breaking up with you, or you know what, I shouldn't have gotten into a relationship with you ever again. But I would never say that to her, where I say I shouldn't have gotten married to you ever again. And that came naturally. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, you know, someone dangled that piece of paper in front of me and that's why I changed my behavior. It's not like that. So I guess the escalation has to be really, you know, it has to build up. It has to really be to that extent before you even kind of consider the D word. But yeah, and like I said, I think these are like two different concepts, and they don't have to be like connected to each other necessarily.
I agree.
Yep.
I concur. Okay, so we have the one last one. This should be pretty quick.
Okay.
Okay, this is another one from the Am I the Asshole subreddit from user effective ad 8019. Okay, am I the asshole for emasculating my husband?
Ooh.
Okay, throwaway for privacy. My husband and I don't have the best relationship, but it also is not the worst. He has a habit of doing things behind my back, and I'm supposed to accept it because I'm a housewife. I cook, clean, run errands, anything to do with domestic things is my responsibility. And I'd be fine with it if my husband didn't throw it in my face. This being said, I don't take BS, hence why he is regularly frustrated with me. I stand my ground and withhold my responsibility when he does the same. And he doesn't think this is right, as I apparently don't do anything all day. I barely have no free time. The issue is, his parents lost their home due to terrible financial decisions, and they asked to live with us, and I immediately said no. I knew I'd have to clear after his parents while he goes out. Precisely, they could have gone to his other 3 siblings' houses, so it was like, why was their only choice to come here? Despite me saying no to his parents staying with us, I came back from shopping with all their stuff moved in. I'm livid and argue with my husband, and he says he pays the bills, so I have to deal with it. Fine, but I told him I'm not doing anything in the house anymore, and if he can fend for himself, he got cocky and thought I was bluffing. I lived up to my promise, and I could see he was getting more and more angry with my new freedom. It all came ahead this weekend when I went to the kitchen and made only enough dinner for myself. His parents asked if I can make another portion, and I said no. His mom started berating me, then my husband got involved and yelled at me and called me a bee. I'm simply putting my AirPods in and drowning him out. Walked away and ate my dinner in my bedroom. After some time, he and his parents came to me and I could see he was speaking. My husband then lifted up my hair and saw I had AirPods in and was not listening to a word he has been screaming. He asked if I had them in the whole time, and I replied, of course. His dad laughed and was clearly finding this amusing. Then all of a sudden, my husband burst out crying, like seriously bawling his eyes out, sobbing. I'm emasculating him in front of people. Me and his parents were silent and in shock by this. To paint the scene, he was crying loudly, sitting on the floor. Then his mother cradled him while his father looked like he was about to laugh. I thought the whole thing was ridiculous because he brought this upon himself. I said, I don't know why he's acting like a victim. I picked up my purse and I left to go hang out with my friends. The next day, my husband did not speak a word to anyone and slept all day and looked depressed. His mother berated me again and said I'm breaking her son. If I'm being honest, I'm starting to think I handled the situation a bit too petty. Am I the asshole?
Look at the first comment.
I know the first comment is just divorce, 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 divorce. For the love of God, divorce. I mean, side note, the new AirPods are pretty good. The noise canceling.
Oh, really?
It is. It's
Oh,
very
yeah.
good.
You made me try yours.
it's
Yeah, it
very
is
good.
really good. I don't think that she's an asshole, but she's definitely petty. Like, if there was an asshole situation here, then the husband definitely is like more asshole to me than the wife. But I also feel that the wife, this is not the way to communicate. Like, where I know we go back to communicate again and again, but, like, making with his parents, like making a scene or, trying to prove something of the parents. And from his side, the way he said that, I pay the bills, my parents that is also not a way. Both of them are like, they need help.
It's like two rams butting
yeah.
heads. Yeah.
And I think she's very vindictive.
Yeah.
I mean, so being angry at a decision and maybe reacting a certain way is one thing, but cooking for herself over days, like I think over multiple days, and just eating her portion on her own, and then when asked, just saying no. I think you have to draw the line, like where you put your foot down and make a position. But I don't think this is that situation. This is that scenario where your elderly parents are like, where your husband's elderly parents are home. You are making food just for yourself.
Yeah.
I guess that's petty. That's vindictive. That's not nice. So if I have to answer that question, is she the asshole? Yes, she's the asshole, but the husband is also an asshole.
Yeah.
So I was actually debating on like both of them are assholes, and the other thing was that he's the asshole, she's just petty. But yeah, Pat, what do you think?
I think both of them are an asshole because just the way that they react to each other, because I think when you marry someone, you're not married just the person, you marry their whole family.
Yeah.
So it's also have to be a reason. Maybe the parents are also more comfortable with her husband and to be there, and I think that when you marry, it's also like supporting each other, so I get it that it's also like take a toll off of her, but maybe ask him for like how long would they stay, or have a plan together. If not, then they need to find a way to compromise, but the way that his ego as they're saying that, I paid for everything, it's my house, it's not the right way. But it's more about respecting the other one. But I think that she's a bit more aggressive in a way of her reactions that I'm cooking for myself. I think it's a bit too extreme in a way.
And it's very performative. Like, she could have quietly gone down and made something for herself, but, she's like making something I'm only making for myself.
Yeah. But I mean, if in a scenario, like if you want to fight with your partner, I would do it just the two of us, it's too bad that the parents are there, but of course, like your parents will always be on your side, and in this case, like when his mom's saying that to her. I mean, I get where she's coming from. She wants to protect of her son, but maybe you should be fighting.
Hashtag
closed
boy
door.
mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I think this is a good segue between the last episode, actually. Maybe I should put in this first, but because our last episode about in-laws, about the parents, I mean, it's not right for her to take it out on the husband's
Absolutely.
parents. I mean, you obviously have to respect, and whether they lost the house with a bad financial decision or anything, I mean, they're suffering themselves. I'm sure it's not easy for them to ask to move into their son's house. So they're also struggling with their things. And I mean, it's important as family to support each other. But so again, I mean, also, I don't think that, I mean, I think it's important that the wife stand up for herself.
Yeah.
She needs to communicate that. The husband also is probably not listening to maybe what the
not
wife
accepting.
not accepting what the wife is comfortable with.
Yeah.
I mean, because she obviously feels like even before the parents moved in that she wasn't being taken care of or listened or heard, and then
This
now
is like
the parents
building up with the husband, right? Like, and then so that it has to go to a certain point where the guy is saying that where the guy's like, no, I pay for it, I will decide it, and she's saying that there's no end in sight, I have to clean up after them. If it was like a normal conversation, it could be like, she could share her, I mean, I do, like, and he also does share when we have guests visiting that, hey, like, what I'm comfortable with or what he's comfortable with, and we'll try to, like, of course, even after that there might be stressful situations, but the whole thing over here, she's also like, hey, you know what, I have to clean up. That's the logic she used, that I have to clean up after them, they're not going to do anything, I don't want them in the house. It could have been that, hey, like, how long is this going to go on? Like, okay, for a month they're going to stay with us, what is the next plan? It seems like she doesn't know when this is going to end, and that's why she's also like,
I give up on everyone. I'm fine, I'm fending for myself. I mean, it kind of goes back to, I mean, from what I hear about the way that the dynamic works between this couple, it's kind of like what you guys talked about in the beginning between your relationship about, understanding that your partner has different point of view from you and may think differently, but to also be open to, changing your mind or at least being able to understand where they're coming from. And it sounds like this is like the opposite, where they're not willing to compromise, and they're not willing to understand or empathize with what the other partner is feeling or dealing with.
And it feels like she's keeping score, kind of. Like, she also mentions a few instances where she, from her point of view, she wasn't treated right, and fair enough. But it was like, okay, so 3-0 to me, and then I will now pay back by not serving food to your parents. So 3-1 to me now. I mean, also that's not a healthy relationship dynamic.
Yeah, it seems to me like they're going to have a lot more problems down the line.
If they're still together.
Yeah.
So if this was a snapshot and you were coming, if this couple was, maybe another friend in the office, and they were like, well, what do I do? Like, from the wife, maybe, like, what would your advice be to them?
Talk to him properly. Like, and not just talk, like, try to have a conversation, like, get deep, like, clearly you guys are annoying each other. Clearly there's certain things happening where you're getting on each other's nerves. So talk about it. Like, life is too long to be stuck in a situation where both of you are miserable, screaming probably at each other. It sounds like something that they really get into, like that whole situation. He lifts up her hair and is like, whoa, what's going on?
I can imagine it when you were reading. I'm like, oh my God.
But it's like, I feel like, could it be that the cement has like settled when, to come to the point where like they don't respect each other? And
so you're saying if this is recoverable?
Yeah, I'm wondering, is it recoverable?
What do you think, Pat?
I think they already passed that point, honestly, because I don't think that they both respect the other person, and they just want to win their way. I think that it's, I mean, because I think that she already stated what she wants in a way, but he chose not to hear it, and then have the parents move in anyways, so I think that there's more issue that they need to be solved for both of them. I'm not sure if it will be
recoverable.
I think what really nails the coffin is the parents being there.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even if they do work on it, like now the parents are gonna be in like the son's corner, being like, "We don't like your wife,"
Yeah.
you know, and like Christmas is gonna be very awkward.
Yeah, this is clearly a difficult situation.
And to address the main question, like where the man basically was crying on the on the
and
floor, right?
yeah.
So can he recover from that?
Yeah.
So like the next day he was sleeping all day, right? And then let's say on the third day when he has to deal with life, can he recover from this and really go back
To loving her.
to loving her again? Because that's how he feels. That's his reality, right? So his perception is his reality, right? And then if he is not able to get over that, it's game over then.
I wonder what the culture, because I think it also matters what culture you're in.
Yeah.
Maybe because I know there's some cultures where a woman's role is much more clearly defined.
I have a feeling this might be like a South Asian case, but not entirely sure. I don't want to
But
stereotype
I'm not sure
anything.
because also like I was wondering actually because it also varies from culture to culture. So in some cultures it's a given that you will take care of your parents and it is okay for them to stay with you for 3 months, year or life. But I mean in Western cultures I think it's very random, very awkward.
Sure.
Coming
Put
down
them
from
in a
the
house.
house
Again, like
for a week or
Italian
two.
cultures, they also take care of the parents at home when they're older. So it's hard to
So
say.
it varies from. I mean, so that's why it. So the degree of this woman's, let's say, crime, that if I can put it that way, will also vary from culture to culture.
I think so for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, this is for some cultures. I can see this being like, even if the woman was in the right to do this to the
parents.
it's like unacceptable.
Yeah, South Asia, she's an asshole.
Yeah.
Let's say I don't know, United States.
Yeah, I think maybe in Western or like in the U.S. perspective, probably like I think I understand kind of where she's coming from and kind of this. I think Americans can come off as a little bit self-entitled. But so I mean I do get what she's saying and kind of like just because you're my mother-in-law, father-in-law doesn't give you a special right. I mean Americans,
But
Well, but fair enough. I mean that's how that is the fabric of their society.
Yeah.
So I mean you can't blame her for that. Like you can't expect her to first of all become South Asian overnight.
Yeah.
And then also try to kind of change this social narrative or in the social way of doing things, right? So
Yeah, but it's interesting you brought up that, like, I totally sort of, the husband is at a very bad place right now.
Yeah.
Can this be like a sign that something was building in him too? Like, he's depressed. I mean, we throw that word around, but maybe he is actually suffering
and
from...
it escalated, right?
Yeah.
Like from like having a fight to kind of crying. I think he's again not at a
he's
good
this
place.
close.
I mean, if for example, if he felt like he was never living up to maybe his parents or sounds like his dad, maybe the expectation of his son being quote unquote a man, like the dad was kind of laughing at him, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe this could be a bigger thing of where maybe the dad is kind of like
The dad is the
Judging
asshole.
him.
Plot
Yeah.
twist. So the dad is the asshole.
It's the dad.
Yeah. I think it's tough, but I think a lot of the world's problems would be solved to just people who are more empathetic and because I don't think people are inherently evil and like I don't think she wants to like destroy her husband, but I think she also needs to be heard and I think it's just that like I don't know. I feel like even if I am very upset with someone, I don't think I could be to this level because especially the parents like or maybe they're doing something, maybe they've also have a history together being difficult. So.
There definitely is more between the lines in this story.
Probably,
like
for sure.
for both of them, and he has been kind of an asshole to her, she has too. Probably in this situation, to me she's not looking like a super like asshole, but petty and you know. But maybe there's a lot that happened that led up to this moment.
I mean, like you said, I think there's not a lot of. It's very rare that there's a clear asshole.
Super clear.
There's usually like.
There are usually like things
in the way. No, it's
I've read some clear asshole stories, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, more often than
Yeah.
not, it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, this is a good insight into marriage life, and it seems like you guys are a really good role model for us.
Experts.
Yeah.
Doctor.
Dr. Salim, Dr. Sadia.
Dr. Also.
Yeah, I
Osho.
think it's because also, like, of course, it is not, no marriage is perfect, right? But I think
Except for ours.
except for ours. But it's also like, I think me and Salim, I don't know if I'm speaking for you, but we never thought of like, we're married. Like, when people say 10 years, you guys you told me, so it's 10 years. I'm like, Pat, it does not feel like 10 years.
And I don't feel like it's 10 years.
Yeah.
It feels like maybe 5, but not 10.
Yeah.
I mean, you still keep the dynamic somehow. It's still alive, I mean, of course, there's like, there's sometimes that you might like have conflict and whatnot, but I don't feel like, because I mean, I've seen some couples of like, my cousins and cousins, that you can see that once they have kids or they've been together
Yeah.
for the longest time, you can see the dynamic and the way they speak to each other, the annoying, the irritation, just everything. It's different. It's not like this.
Yeah, like it gets to you. I mean, God knows that I get annoyed by Salim. Like, and I think you also know it quite well. And I do annoy you too, like, but that's like a part of the whole thing. But yeah, I think maybe the fact that, sometimes my mom, in my culture, married women are supposed to wear like gold, a bit of like your gold bangles or your gold like earrings or something like that. And both my mom and like my mother-in-law would be like, yeah, initially they would be like that. And of course they gave up after that. So when we were recently married, and then they would be like, why don't you wear like, a little thing, like a little bangle, or, I was like, I don't know. I don't really feel married. And
Well, is a gold bangle supposed to represent that you're a married woman?
so usually it's the case that, if you're wearing like a lot of gold jewelry, that means you are like a married woman.
So like a wedding band, but it's
Yeah, like a bangle, like, there you get those during your wedding and things like that. So if that's an indication of anything, like I never felt that I didn't want to like look married or like, I wanted to be with Salim, like for sure. Even like when we got married, like I was 24 or 24 and you were, sorry.
I was 27, you were 25.
I was 25 and you were 27. And I never wanted to get married, like, I wanted to get married beyond 28. I told you this, like, 28 and 30. And, because I feel like that's when a girl is like, knows what she wants, blah, blah, blah. But then, of course, you fall for someone and then, the whole situation is like that. So at that, some of my friends had asked me that, okay, are you sure about this or, whatever. I was like, I'm really sure that I want to be with him. And then you told me this, that, I'm really sure that I want to be with you. And if we can be with each other and we have to get married right now, let's get married. Like, what's the thing? The main important thing is us being together, marriage or no marriage.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah.
It is.
Do you feel that same way?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think we were on the same page
good.
whenever we had that discussion.
You also don't want to look married? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, that's why I don't have a ring.
It's a hint.
Yeah, he lost it 3 times. So now he doesn't wear it anymore. And then we found it back.
Skip the conversation.
No, I mean, again, in our culture, it's not a thing where you have to wear your like wedding ring. It's a very westernized concept.
Right.
We kind of do follow those rituals, like we do have those, but it's more from a Western influence rather than being really part of. So that's why you'll see a lot of South Asian men. I don't know for what reasons. But yeah, I mean, it's not really common. You can wear them, but it's okay to not wear them.
I think the whole engagement ring kind of culture is quite new, right? It's quite a modern thing.
I think so too. Yeah.
With the diamond.
Yeah,
industry.
brought to you by De Beers.
Yeah, De Beers.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go watch Blood Diamond after this. No, I'm kidding. No. Okay. Well, thank you for coming on. Right. I think we did a great first.
I feel like we talked so much.
No,
I feel
but
like
it's so much fun. No, thank you.
He loves it.
I love it. Yeah. I'm just like here getting to play with my little mixer and
I feel so happy.
So do we start to take 2 now?
Yeah.
Oh wait, another.
Oh my
so
god.
from the beginning, from the top.
Okay, that was a practice round. Okay. Oh, I wasn't recording.
Oh my god, I would kill you.
Yeah. Okay.
No, but this was fun. I hope you guys have us back again.
I would love to.
We will.
Yeah,
We will.
for sure.
We will.
We'll talk
sure.
about- yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It was fun to share our expert opinions.
Expert.
10 years.
Dr.
I think 10 years
Sadia.
makes
And
you
all
an
the books
expert.
that I've read, I was able to finally
Quote.
virtue signal, use all the quotes that I now know.
Osho.
All the three,
Osho.
all the three quotes that I know.
So for next time, we just need to tell Salim first when it is, so he can start writing and list it down all the quotes.
And I'll organically
and
insert
find
them
a
into
way to insert
conversation.
it. Yeah.
Maybe have like a little sign that you can,
Yeah.
like, or like the bottom scroll, like the news feed.
Yeah.
That you have the little ticker tape. Okay, maybe you want to close this out?
No, I could.
Why don't you sing a song?
No,
as a closing?
No, I'll do it on my wedding day.
Oh, you will?
No.
Oh my
No.
god, I'm so excited.
Jokes.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you. This has been You Look Lovely Today. And I want to say a big thank you again to the Saws, Sadia and Salim, for being on the show.
Thank you guys.
And
This was awesome.
Thank you to Pacha as well. And you can check us out on YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and everywhere else that you find your podcast. Be sure to leave a comment or a like in the description. We like to hear from all our fans, and let us know what you want to hear from us. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.